Hello, everyone. I'm Minister James Moss, and we're back again with another version of continuing education. And we're in the book of Acts. We're about to wrap up the ninth chapter. We're covering verses 32 through 43. This one is entitled, Peter Heals Aeneas and Raises Dorcas. So we're just going to get right to it. After describing Saul's astounding conversion, Luke focused again on the ministry of Peter, specifically on the miraculous signs that accompanied his preaching. Capitalizing on the newfound climate of religious tolerance, Peter began an itinerant ministry intended to strengthen and encourage believers scattered throughout Israel. All right, so here we go. And it came to pass, as Peter passed throughout all quarters, he came down also to the saints which dwelt at Lydda. And there he found a certain man named Aeneas, which had kept his bed 8 years and was sick of the palsy. And Peter said unto him, Aeneas, Jesus Christ maketh thee whole. Arise and make thy bed. And he arose immediately. And all that dwelt at Lydda, and Saron saw him and turned to the Lord. Now there was at Joppa a certain disciple named Tabitha, which by interpretation is called Dorcas. This woman was full of good works and alms deeds which she did. And it came to pass in those days that she was sick and died, whom when they had washed, they laid her in an upper chamber. And forasmuch as Lydda was nigh to Joppa, and the disciples had heard that Peter was there, they sent unto him 2 men, desiring him that he would not delay to come to them. Then Peter arose and went with them. When he was come, they brought him into the upper chamber, and all the widows stood by him weeping and showing the coats and garments which Dorcas made, while she was with them. But Peter put them all forth and kneeled down and prayed, and turning him to the body said, Tabitha, arise. And she opened her eyes, and when she saw Peter, she sat up. And he gave her his hand and lifted her up. And when he had called the saints and widows, presented her alive. And it was known throughout all Joppa, and many believed in the Lord. And it came to pass that he tarried many days in Joppa with one Simon, a tanner. Okay, so just showing Peter in action here. So here we go. Verse 32, the leader of the apostles was last mentioned in chapter 8, verse 25, returning from Samaria to Jerusalem with John. He came to Lydda, a predominantly Gentile community about 25 miles west of Jerusalem. Lydda was a fairly large town and commercial center at the intersection of highways connecting Egypt to Syria and Joppa to Jerusalem. The gospel likely came to Lydda as a direct result of the mass conversion at Pentecost, or from those who had fled the Jerusalem persecution. Verses 33 through 35, nothing more is known about Aeneas other than this fact of his miraculous healing from an 8-year crippling illness. The healing was done by Jesus Christ, and it was immediate. This miracle was not an end in itself, but a confirming sign of the truth of the gospel. The phrase, the whole population, was probably not meant to be taken literally. Rather, it was Luke's way of reporting that a vast number of people turned to the Lord and were saved, including not only those in Lydda, but in the whole area of Sharon, a coastal plain about 10 miles wide and 50 miles long, stretching north from Lydda to Carmel. Verses 36 and 37. The important harbor city of Joppa sits 125 feet above sea level, overlooking the Mediterranean Sea. Joppa was the town into which the cedars of Lebanon had been floated to be shipped to Jerusalem and used in the temple construction. The prophet Jonah had left the port of Joppa on his ill-fated trip. It was customary to bury corpses before sundown. The believers had only prepared her for burial and laid her in an upstairs room, suggesting that they believed that she could be raised. The church had not previously experienced miracles of this nature, though such signs had occurred during the life and ministry of Christ. Perhaps words about the healing of Aeneas had reached Joppa from Lydda, because the believers dispatched 2 men to find and bring Peter. Verses 38 and 39, Joppa was only about 10 miles northwest of Lydda. To go and find Peter and to bring him back would have taken these 2 men 6 to 8 hours. Once located and presented with the need in Joppa, Peter returned with them. The next indicates, or the text indicates, the haste with which all this was accomplished. And arriving, Peter was immediately ushered to the upstairs room. There, he met a group of mourning widows. Clearly, this woman's death was a major blow to the church in Joppa. Verses 40 through 43. After getting down on his knees to pray, Peter told Tabitha to get up. Then she opened her eyes. Peter presented this back from the dead saint to her overjoyed friends. As a result of this startling miracle, many citizens of Joppa believed in the Lord. Peter stayed a long time in Joppa at the home of Simon, probably in order to teach the people more thoroughly the full implications of the gospel. It is significant that Peter stayed with the man who was, by vocation, a leather worker who made animal hides into leather. This occupation involved contact with dead animals, and Jewish law considered it an unclean job. Peter was already beginning to break down his prejudice against people who were not of his kind and customs that did not adhere to Jewish religious traditions. This would set the stage for what is reported in the next chapter. All right, so what we're learning here, besides the miracles, one of the things that we pulled out of this also is that Simon the tanner was a leather worker, and so he handled the dead bodies of animals, which by Jewish tradition they was like, oh, that's unclean, that's an unclean person, unclean, everything is unclean. So as Peter is getting more and more away from his own personal prejudices, this is a situation where it's like, okay, Jesus is like, no matter what somebody does for a living, that's not important to me. That's not what makes them unclean, unless it's controlled by sin. This man has an honest living, and he makes an honest wage. So you're going to find out that not all people that you think are unclean or bad are actually bad people. All right. So anyway, that concludes this one, and we'll be moving on into chapter 10. All right. We're chugging along. Hey, there's a lot to the book of Acts, so don't feel like you got to rush through this. Don't feel like, hey, you got a speed race and it's all about timing. No, it's about quality, not quantity, not the quantity of videos that you can watch and jump and move to the quality of learning something from each one. Until next time, God bless you, God keep you, and always remember to keep studying.